And you go, wow, isn't that a sort of an odd way to sort of become a member of the community? Anyways, I say all that really just to register the division that the place has created. We need to get beyond that, way beyond that. It's good to learn from your history. It's good to learn that, when Bowen doesn't like big. A very thoughtful commentator on Bowen life said that to me, and it's stuck with me ever since. Bowen doesn't like big. The National Park Initiative was big. We couldn't swallow it. The Cape Roger Curtis development was big. We couldn't swallow it. But Cape Roger Curtis at 640 acres is like a big piece of real estate. It's always going to have big issues. And now, Metro Vancouver, and their park proposal is big, and we're struggling swallowing it. Here's my basic take. I totally get why we're struggling with this issue. A park, okay. A big camping enterprise on that park. Wow, how is that going to work? And there's a lot of fear. There's a tremendous amount of fear being expressed about scenarios and outcomes right now. And I totally get that. And particularly, when you dump an idea like that in a news release, we don't do news releases on Bowen Island. Anyways, Metro Vancouver chose to just sort of dump it out there as a news release right in the middle of the busy tourist season when ferries were overloaded, and just before a municipal election when it can quickly become a super hot topic and supercharged. I have to question the timing. But nonetheless, on the other hand, you go, oh, maybe there was some genius here on the part of Metro. They went, okay, let's throw it out there and let's see what the community does with it. We can learn something. Because as far as I can tell, and I might be wrong, but I don't think I am, Metro Vancouver needs a rezoning to turn this into a park. And a rezoning is the authority of the municipality. And you're going to need 1, 2, 3, 4 councillors out of 7, a majority of council, to say yes to that rezoning. So it's going to be a decision that is going to come on to the next council and will be decided basically by the next council or the majority of the next council. And we'll either have a consensus on it or we'll have a split decision, who knows? But the point being is that we're going to have a significant amount of public discussion to do that. And there's going to need to be a lot of information on the table, a lot of understanding about what the enterprise is all about. We're going to have to understand what the weaknesses of that proposal are, the strengths of that proposal. And it's going to have to be done with real transparency because, I think this council didn't get high marks for transparency. And so it's a trust issue. And government works when the community trusts it. I mean, that's what we all aspire for. Trust is hard won. It's hard to hang on to, and that goes both ways. In part, it's not just council that can erode trust. It's the community. The community can be a bit lazy. It cannot pay attention. Then it can wake up and go, "Hey, what's going on?" And then assume that it should be heard when it wasn't paying attention and should have been investing all along. So trust is a relationship, and it's a two-way street. Anyways, here's what the Bowen Island Conservancy is doing in that regard. I'm not going to speak for the Conservancy, but I'm a member of the board, and we want to get proactive. In other words, we don't want to be afraid. We want to be smart. And Bowen Island community needs to be smart about this. Speaking about the Conservancy, you could say we've got a lot to lose. We have a nature reserve there, 32 acres. It would be direct neighborhood to this new park. And if this place is poorly designed and flooded with people, it could easily overwhelm all the protections that we're trying to employ on our nature reserve. So first reaction is, woo. Second reaction is, let's get proactive. Okay, we're getting in touch with Metro. We're going to tell them very clearly what our concerns are. We're going to tell them very clearly what we're trying to protect. In other words, where are we trying to go with us and what are our issues? And then we want to be in a conversation and we want to be really good listeners and we want to hear from them what they're going to do to accommodate our needs. Because we're really clear about what we need and we will judge their proposal based on our needs. We're also cognizant that, they could be great conservation partners. And we're not willing to just be fearful We want the best outcome possible. We don't know what that is, but we're going to be at the table. We're going to work hard with them. We're going to work smart with them. We're going to listen to them, and we're going to push them towards what we want to make sure we protect what we've got. But they've got a lot to offer us. The thing I really like about Metro Vancouver is they've been, partners on Bowen Island for 30 years. They have managed Crippen Park, and they've managed it really well. And I tell you, during the national park debate, we heard that loud and clear, that the people, Bowen Island trusted Metro Vancouver way more than they did Parks Canada to run Crippen Park, but Parks Canada was looking to basically take over Crippen Park. And people were really comfortable with the Metro Vancouver they knew and how they ran that park. So we've got a long-term relationship with Metro Vancouver. And so I like that. And I know some of their staff, and I really like their staff, and I admire their conservation commitment. So I'm hopeful that they can accommodate our interests, and in fact, can benefit us by creating a conservation reserve around us. But the sticking point for sure is camping, and what that means, and how that's going to be delivered, and how many. Bowen doesn't like big. 100 campsites is big. That's just the raw truth of it. So I speak about the Conservancy as an analogy for where the municipality, in my mind, needs to go. Get smart, get professional, get in there, be a good negotiator, and keep the community informed of your negotiation. It's got to be done transparently, because a council that tries to cut a side deal in a back room with Metro and then tries to sell it to the community is probably going to be playing an uphill battle.
What haven't we talked about that we should? What's the question that's nearest and dearest to you that keeps you up at night that we haven't tackled?
Hope. My observation is the people that are hopeful that I run into have two things going for them. They're working hard on things that matter to them, and they're doing it in community, with community, for community. In other words, it's the old adage, stay local, think global, but stay local. But I'm even cautious about thinking global, because, it's a tough story out there. And I focus my efforts on this community, what we can do, because this is where it matters. This is our contribution to the global solution. It's doing two things. One is taking care of home place. And number two, it is sharing what we learn here with others. And that's why, I invested heavily in the biosphere, because I'm not just a citizen of Bowen Island. And I'd like to say better than that, I am not just a citizen of Nook-Lalakam, Bowen Island, not Bowen Island. We need to work hard to bring, this is a bare minimum contribution, the language of the First Peoples to this place. I don't know whether I'm saying it right. I love Pauline LaBelle's comment on how her pronunciations of Squamish nations are. She said, hey, it's my dialect. That's how I speak it, but I'm trying. That's, it's sort of like my French. I'm trying. You can tell it's not my first tongue. Anyways, Nook-Lalakam, beautiful word, Nook-Lalakam. And that is our place, Bowen Island. So to me, I go, invest here. How are we taking care of the good little ship, Bowen Island? And secondly, I'm a citizen of that, but I'm a citizen too of this larger thing called Atkatsam, Howe Sound. Atkatsam, beautiful word. Such a, and I love it because it is one of three words that the Squamish Nation has for what we call Howe Sound. When they're paddling into the mouth, it's one word. When they're paddling out of Howe Sound, it's another word. So, which just tells me sort of the attention they pay to the place they're in. And I could almost speak the same of Bowen. If you're looking north from Hood Point into the Sound, the geography that you see is a completely different world than if you turn at Cape Roger Curtis and look south out across the strait, where it's just nothing but the great ocean in front of you. Anyways, it reminds me of the worlds we straddle. Back to your point, Don, hope. I feel I'm a citizen of Bowen, Nook-Lalakam. I feel like I'm a citizen of Atkatsam, Howe Sound. That's why I invested heavily in the Biosphere Enterprise, because to me, what the biosphere has been able to do, and of course it's just in its infancy, but the formulation of the biosphere was 5 years in the making, and we learned a ton. And what we really tried to do is create the same thing that Bowen Island has, which is definition. Like, the lovely thing about living on an island is you know whether you live on it or off it. There's no gray, sharp edges. And what I wanted out of the biosphere initiative was a sharp edge to something that I could call at Cutsum Howe Sound. And we did that. We drew boundaries on the watershed boundaries to the east and west, North Shore Mountains and on the Sunshine Coast, and then north up the Squamish and Cheakamus Rivers. And at a certain point, we just went, hey, we're not going to take the whole watershed that goes way, way, way up into the mountains, because we want to keep the marine focus that the biosphere, communities are. But I now feel real kinship. And I think people that are investing in the biosphere feel real kinship between Nuku'alook and Bowen Island, Lions Bay, West Vancouver, Squamish, Gibsons, Gambier Island. Like, we're a community. We're a bigger community that has, common cause for the waters of Howe Sound and the rivers that drain into it. So that's where I want to put my hope. That's where I want to park my hope. And it's active hope. It's not, and I love this. And I've got a little sort of catchphrase at the bottom of my emails that, I thought I would rotate out and put a new one in 2 years ago, and then a year ago, and 6 months ago. And I keep looking at it and going, Bob, no, that's still what matters to me. And it basically says, hope is not optimism, which expects things to turn out well, but something rooted in the conviction that there is something good worth working for. That, to me, is hope. That's active hope. We don't know whether we're going to win or lose, but that's not why we're in the game. You don't go onto the playing field only if you're going to win. You go onto the playing field because there's something worth playing for. And that's where I want to get Bowen to. Where we need to be as an island is excited and energized about like the challenges that we've got, and that we're better equipped than probably any community in Canada or the world to sort of take it on, because we're small, we're tight, we've got great diversity, we're smart, we got a talent pool that would be the envy of any community. We need to work together to get there. If there's anything I'd love to see is just more cooperation, collaboration, partnership at every level. It goes back to one of my first points, public-private partnership, or better stated, private-public partnership. Bowen Island is what it is because people have invested over time. Bowen Island is almost a story of resistance in the best way I can use that word, resistance. We have, and that was the island that I came to, that Rosemary and I came to and sort of fell in love with in 1989. Like, we landed on this island, after the big jaw-dropping view up the sound and me sort of just feeling like, okay, this is the place. We open the undercurrent. What do we see? 5 pages of letters to the editor against a proposal to put a golf course in Crippen Park. And we just looked, Rosemary and I looked at each other, we looked at the undercurrent, we went, woo, this is a plugged-in community. I like this place. As sleepy as the whole place looked, dog lying in the middle of Main Street type stuff. What's hiding there in the woods is, call it what you want, it's resistance. And I think we've been better at resistance than we have at being visionary. A lot of if you look at the original OCP, and that's a whole story in itself, really built on a bedrock of good science. The province invested, it was really crafty on the part of the early Island Trust trustees of the way they pulled the province in to invest in an analysis of Bowen, still pretty much the best we've got, done in the 70s. Whole multitude of different agencies were involved in sort of figuring out how to put density on Bowen Island. So that was back in the 70s. We've come forward largely with a tradition of resisting big. That's it, resisting big. That's sort of the Bowen story in so many ways. And we fought to be small. So the positive is we fought to stay small. And, when you look at West Vancouver and, the whole Sea to Sky region, you can say, how have we done? We've done pretty damn well. A friend of mine came up to me at the end of my term as mayor. Interesting statement that I had to sort of chew on a bit before I decided whether it was a criticism or a compliment. But he said to me, Bob, I think you're going to be remembered more for what didn't get done as opposed to what did get done. And, at the time I sort of went, oh, but, then I thought a little more about it, and I'm really proud of that statement, because it wasn't just a no. It was a discerning no. And I can say that, for everything we were involved with, we went